Okay, so last time we stopped at our presentation. I will make a projection now. You will see it on your screens. We were dealing with faculties of consciousness. Here somewhere we stopped. Yeah, at the scheme of Sankhya. I will do one more thing. Right. So Sankhya scheme, we already looked into it and saw that Purusha, who is kind of giving his attention, giving his consciousness, so to say, attending to Prakriti, creates in her this movement which wants to satisfy him. Somebody joined, and when you join, you either mute your microphone or use the headset, either or. You may fall out and join in, and it will be many times this way. So every time you will have to remember about it, microphone, because you bring all the noise immediately when you join, yeah? The background and so on. And others can hear it, and it is very disturbing. Right. So the Sankhya, why we are dealing with Sankhya now? Because we want to see what was there before Sankhya. For me, this kind of scheme is important. This table is important only to show you that all the faculties of consciousness in Sankhya depend on manas. They are not independent. So manas is their synthesizer. You can see that manas is responsible for what we hear, what we touch, what we see, what we taste and smell. It is manas who decides, the sense mind, or the sixth sense. And this is our today's paradigm of knowledge. We believe that we know exactly this way. We know through this kind of particular device that manas, it's by manas that we see, not by the eye. It is by manas that we hear, not by the ear, and so on, as Yajnavalkya says. We see, hear, touch, smell, taste by manas. Because manas decides what it is. Manas decides what it is to be. And in that sense, indriyas are not independent. And this is actually a very good example of the mental structure of consciousness, and which explains why it is mental structure. Because everything depends on the mind. Mind dominates all the senses. They are not independent. There is no independence of speech. Speech is just a token to show that what manas does, or what manas thinks or feels. There is no independent faculty of speech or hearing or sight. Only mind. But it wasn't always so. There was another paradigm before. There was another kind of approach to consciousness and perception before the Sankhyaik paradigm, before this mental structure of consciousness. And here I would like to show you something interesting. So this pre-Sankhyaik paradigm of the ancient Upanishads, there are three constant dvandvas mentioned in the Upanishads, that is manas and vak, mind and word, chakshuh and shrotram, seeing and hearing, and prana and apana, breathing in and breathing out, or prana and annam, life force and matter. Annam is not just matter, it is also animated matter, organic matter, matter which grows. That means plants, animals, and our body. It's animated matter. It is different from, for example, stone or metal, which is not animated. It has life in it. It has cells. It has growth and reproduction, notice, reproduction and death. This type of matter is annam. So these are the constant dvandvas pairs, which are mentioned in the Upanishads. And you will be surprised, but Upanishads are dealing not with consciousness. There is no such concept of consciousness. No Chaitanya, no Chetana, no Chetas. Nobody speaks about it. But they constantly speak about these faculties of consciousness. Faculties. Bhrigu in Taittiriya says, defining Brahman as annam prana chakshu shrotram mano vacham iti, 6 faculties of consciousness. And these are the faculties. Annam pranam chakshu shrotram mano vacham iti. So they saw the consciousness working through the faculties and not without them. For them, consciousness was these faculties. And this is important for us to understand. There is no consciousness without them. If I switch off seeing, hearing, thinking, speaking, breathing, or living, and material life off, there will be no consciousness for us available. It will be drawn to its transcendental realm. Is it clear? It must be clear. Yeah. So we think about consciousness as an abstract notion. Something exists. We say Purusha. Purusha is consciousness which has no faculties. It is consciousness. But when we define Purusha, we say he is Sakshi. Sakshi means witness. He looks, he sees. Now we have already introduced only one faculty of consciousness. He sees. But does he hear? Yes, he also hears. Because hearing is only one faculty which we kind of explain as hearing through the ear, but it is not only hearing through the ear, it is also comprehending, understanding, and so on. Does Purusha comprehend? Yes, he does. He comprehends. He understands. He attends. He sees. Does he speak? Well, we do not know, but he gives anumati. He gives a sanction. He is anumanta. What is his sanction if not the command, the word? Yes, he somehow speaks in some mysterious way. Not in the same way we speak, but the word, the function of the word, the faculty will be there. And if you read Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, you will find it very fascinating, because when he describes consciousness on all the levels of existence, from the lowest to the highest, to the supramental and transcendental, he will describe it in terms of faculties. He will speak about the sight, the silence, the depth of light, the perception. All these faculties will be there. Even the word. The word that knows. He will describe it in this way. So it's very interesting how consciousness can be seen. not only in the mental structure of consciousness as indriyas dependent on the mind who decides, but as independent faculties of one consciousness. In the pre-Sankhyaik paradigm of ancient Upanishads, manas was one of the faculties, equal to all the rest, equal to speech, to hearing, seeing, and in that sense, it was the faculty of the word could develop. And we have this development of this faculty in tantras, where we see that the word paravak, the transcendental word, pashyantivak is a mental word, the seeing speech. Madhyamavak is the vital word, which is organizing the grammatical, the language into the form. And Vaikharivak, which we speak outside, physical word. So the word has all the levels of existence, from the supramental to the physical. And on all the levels, it's representative. Not as in Sankhya, where the word is totally dependent on manas, and manas decides what to say. Do you see the difference? The word is cut off from the depth of its own capacity, or its own possibilities. It becomes dependent on the mind, sense mind. As of today, yes, we are today using this word, dependent on the sense mind. But truly speaking, we can develop faculty of the word differently, as independent from the sense mind. Well, it's a new topic for you. I'm sure there will be surprises here, and you will find it very unusual, because we are moving into the domain of that intuitive knowledge where consciousness is free and all the faculties can be exercised and approached in depth and independent manner. So these 6 represent major faculties of Brahman, or consciousness. I put them into these dvandvas. Manas and vak as 2 oppositions, you see. Chakshuh and shrotram as another dvandva, and prana and apana. I put them into this scheme because they match very well. If I take the scheme even a little further, we will see that behind these faculties there are universal faculties of the Vedic vision, from the Brahmanic literature. Behind Vak there is Agni. Agni is the universal power of that speech faculty of Purusha. Vayu is that universal power of pranic energy of Purusha. And Aditya is the universal faculty of the vision of Purusha. The sun is the eye of the gods, as they say in the Veda. So all these devatas, cosmic devatas, manas is the faculty of Soma is the faculty of universal godhead of manas, and Disha has space of Shrotram, and behind Annam there is Vayu or Annayu, the one who has a force of life in matter.
What is Disha, Vladimir?
I'm just widening the scope of these faculties into the Vedic paradigm, yes? What the deities are behind them. But it is not even important for us. It's kind of a reference. What is important?
So what is Disha stand for? No, I didn't hear you. The Disha?
Disha is space.
Space,
Disha,
okay.
yeah, these, the directions. Yeah, the south, north.
Okay.
So these directions create space. It is very interesting to mention here maybe Aitareya Upanishad, where these faculties are born out of the universal Purusha. When Atman took Purusha out of the lower waters and heated him up, yes, tamabhyatapa tasyabhitaptasya, and when he heated him up, tasya mukham nirabhidyata, his mouth broke forth. Mukhadvak, from his mouth, speech. From speech, vachognih, and from the speech, Agni was born. So the universal Purusha, who was first born, was heated up by concentration of Atman, from which all these faculties come into existence. Tasya mukham derabhidata mukhadvak vachognih, nasike, two nostrils, nirabhidyetam nasikabhyam pranah vayuhu. His nostrils broke forth from nostrils, prana from pranavayu. Tasya akshini nirabhidyetam, his eyes broke forth. Akshibhyam chakshuh, from his eyes sight. Chakshusha adityah, and from the sight he is sun was born. Tasya karnau nirabhidyetam, karnabhyam shrotram shrotraddishaha, from his ears broke forth, from his ears hearing, from hearing space was born. And notice here in this paradigm, the space, the sun, light were born as the necessity to see and to hear, and not other way around. There is light because there is a capacity of Purusha to see. Otherwise, why should light be born? There is no need, there is no necessity for light to be, other than there is a capacity to see, universal capacity to see. Why should light be there if nobody can see it? Yeah. So we think that we developed eye because there was light. It is not so. The light came into existence because there was a necessity to see. The space was born because there was necessity to hear. There was the capacity of hearing before. So from this capacity of hearing, the space was born. From this capacity to see, the light was born, and so on. So this is the paradigm which Upanishads have. So the cosmic devatas, the whole cosmos was born out of consciousness, out of Purusha having these faculties. Very different from Sankhya. And Aitareya continues, Tasya hridayam nirabhidyata, his heart broke forth. Hridayan mano manasas chandrama, from his heart the mind was born, manas, and from the manas, moon was born. A moon here is a symbolic, of course, figure, as Pitriyana way. And his nabhir nirabhidyatam, nabhya apanopanan mrityu. His navel broke forth, from navel, apana, breathing out, from apana, mrityu, the death was born. That's why the birth and death are connected through navel. We are born with the navel attached to the mother, to the womb, which has to be cut
Vladimir, can you repeat the death part? I missed you there. Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Yes, sure. Tasya nabhir nirabhidyata. His navel broke forth, opened up. Nabhya apana, from navel apana, breathing out. Apanan mrityu, and from apana mrityu was born, the death. These devatas, cosmic devatas, there are more than these 6 here, but you look at them, they describe exactly.
Tell me what verse is that so I can refer to it later?
It is Aitareya Upanishad, first chapter. Aitareya Upanishad, which we will definitely read again, because there in first 3 chapters, there is the whole description of creation out of the faculties of consciousness. So these faculties of Purusha create for themselves kind of a projection or this habitat, or they fall into this habitat where they create their environments, if you like. Yes? They fall into the habitat of the first creation and create the environments. This is their environments, their natural cosmic representatives, so to say. So the nature herself is the embodiment of the consciousness of Purusha. And this is a very interesting information, because on this, exactly on this knowledge, the whole Vedic paradigm is built. Why they use the symbols of nature to describe the psychological phenomena, because the nature itself is the projection of this psychological phenomena, psychological consciousness behind it. The sun, the night, the dawn, the wind, mountains, rivers, all these are not only natural phenomena, they are also psychological phenomena in their proper sense, which we don't see. We don't see it. We see it only as an objective existence of some kind to which we have no relation. But truly speaking, they appeared out of this cosmic consciousness from which all our faculties came into being also. They appeared out of these faculties. They represent these faculties in some way or another. And in that sense, they symbolically can be used to describe the psychological phenomena. I don't want to be very confusing here, but maybe I'm going too far from the beginning. We have to arrive at it slowly to see how the nature reflects our consciousness, and that nature is not something different from our consciousness. It's the environment built by our consciousness. Our physical nature, I mean this, what is sun, our planets, the cosmos, the stars, the space in between. It's not just a physical life which has nothing to do with consciousness. It is determined by consciousness and can be used for the symbolic representation of these psychological phenomena, as the Vedic rishis did. But we are not going yet in that direction. We are staying with Upanishads. We will.
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, same can be said for the physical body, as you said, for the nature and the environment. Same can be said for the physical body and the consciousness.
Right. Very well said. And moreover, if you look at our face, look at my face, it's not the best representative, but if you look at it, you will see that the mouth, or the vak from which the fire, his mouth broke forth, belongs to earth. Then the Vayu belongs to space between heaven and earth. Then the sun, eyes, belong to heaven. In our face, you have earth, space in between, and heaven. One face has heaven and earth and space in between in it. Our body itself embodies the same paradigm. It's kind of interesting to think that on your face you have the imprint of the whole paradigm. Yes, of course.
Okay, to elaborate on that, I think in one of the sessions you had mentioned, and also we had heard that in Patanjali Yoga Sutra session. Hello.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah.
You can switch on. You can switch on camera that I can see you also.
I'm scared the internet connection would go away.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So subtle and gross. Subtle was odor, gross was earth, and then flavor, and then water. Is there any connection between what you just said and all of this? Subtle matter and the gross matter.
Of course. I'm speaking about symbolic, much deeper presentation than already, Patanjali and all those Shastras which are following after Sankhya, who accept Sankhya, think in terms of mental structure of consciousness. They will look at them as Indriyas and Pancha Mahabhutani, 5 great elements. And from that view, they will describe the reality. We are stepping out of that paradigm into the paradigm which was before Sankhya appeared, came into existence. And there, this thing becomes not so important. The water, the fire, these elements in the Sankhyaik Pancha Mahabhutani way. It is not yet classified in that sense and does not depend on the mind. This classification is done by the mind. Mind made it. Mind understood it in this way. But here, it is something else. There is no mind's understanding. This is a view of free consciousness, which doesn't have the center of ego, which is determining a certain perception. And in that sense, gross and liquid and fiery and so on is Sankhyaik view, mind classification. Here, there is another intuition about consciousness. They saw that all the faculties are present on all the levels. All these 6, which you see here, it's like a thin cut of the tree, stem of the tree. And this stem can grow on every level, from the physical to the supramental. On the supramental level, on the highest, even transcendental, you will have these faculties. Maybe they are differently kind of presented, not in the same way as seeing, hearing, but they will be of the same kind faculties. They will be doing it a bit differently on each level, because the physical side is different from the vital side or from the mental side. Seeing on the mental level becomes conceptualization. Seeing on the vital level is something else when we see dreams in our dream state, when we sleep. And seeing on the physical level is totally different from the seeing on the vital level. But there is some common feature in all of them, which is seeing, the faculty of seeing. I am speaking about something more profound, and maybe you will have to meditate on it. Think deeper. Don't think with the mind. Think with the mind first. There is a system first, and then you will have an intuition about it, that there are 2 different paradigms. So this is pre-Sankhyaik, pre-mental, pre-rational paradigm. And faculties are here very interestingly divided. You can see that these red ones are the faculties which are fiery faculties. There are three fires, Agni, Vayu, and Aditya. The essence of earth is Agni, as Chandogya says, and essence of Antariksha is Vayu, fire, and essence of heaven is Aditya, the sun. And we have these three essences of three energies, or three fires, on three levels of earth, heaven, and space in between heaven and earth. And according to the Brahmanas, if these three fires are united into one, these three energies become one energy, then the sacrifice is fulfilled. Sacrifice is meant to connect these three fires, the energy of our physical existence with the energy of our mental and vital existence. Energy, I say energy, it's a wrong word. The essence, the burning consciousness force within them has to be united on all the levels. Then the sacrifice is fulfilled. I am jumping. Yeah, go ahead.
Vladimir, can you mention the sacrifice? What did you actually mean? Like what kind of sacrifice? How do they meet at the sacrifice?
The sacrifice is we will come to it. Yeah, I will deal with sacrifice as a notion, as a concept extensively in the Vedic paradigms. The sacrifice is the major concept of the Vedic process of becoming, of transformation, of growth of the spirit in matter, in nature. When the spirit grows in nature, it is known as sacrifice. The sacrifice is a total and constant transformation of nature by the spirit. The evolution, in other words, that evolution, the constant change and growth of the complexity and the meaning and is the sacrifice. But we don't call it sacrifice nowadays, we call it evolution. The transformation of nature.
Okay. Thank you.
So in that sense, of course, when I say the sacrifice, how it could be fulfilled, what would be the final say in this transformation would be the union of our physical, vital, and mental consciousness into one consciousness force. When they are all united into one, there will be no more division. Yes? There will be one fulfillment. But it is very far from it yet. So these three are fires, and three others, look at them, they are watery. Soma is that ambrosia, that wine of Soma. And the moon, the cool, the silver light. If the sun is the golden, the red light, so to say, then the Soma is the moon, the silver light. So the silver and gold, so to say. And they are embodying in this apana or anna, in the matter, in the animated matter. So there is Agni Soma, Agni Shoma, constant Dvandva in the Veda, where the Soma, the juice, the ambrosia, the substance of the being is poured into the fire, which fire consumes and by that grows and increases the delight. So, but this is Vedic paradigm. We will come to it later. I don't want to just even have mentioned it on the site. Don't even think about it. What I want to see here is for now, is the faculties of consciousness, which are present in the form of this very interesting division. On the one side, you have speech and hearing. On the other side, you have mind and seeing, as you see, yes? On the left, there is manas and chakshuh. On the right, there is Shrotram and Vak. And so speaking and hearing is one faculty. Speaking is active, hearing is perceptive. Do you agree that hearing is perceptive and speaking is active?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking is active faculty of hearing. Hearing is perceptive. We stop speaking. We are kind of, we are very perceptive, very passive, very attentive. And speaking, we are doing this attention, perception, active. We vibrate the hearing, the space. And this vibration is speech. So speaking is active, hearing is perceptive. Chakshuh, seeing. Seeing is perceptive, and manas is active, seeing. If I want to imagine that I would be actively seeing, then it would be thinking. Thinking as actively seeing. It's another paradigm. If you think about it, you will discover something very interesting on how manas works, how the thought, how we think. Because thinking is nothing but seeing actively. And not perceptively as seeing itself. So, and these four, manas, chakshu, shrotram, and vak, are considered to be, as it is called in the Upanishads, Brahma Chatushpad, Brahma on four pillars, or four legs. This Brahman on four legs enters this manifestation through prana and apana, or prana and anna. So as prana, as life force, it enters the matter and makes it animated. The spirit can enter the matter because of these four standing on the side. And these four, notice, active and perceptive of the same faculty of seeing and hearing. So on the right side we have hearing faculty, on the left side we have seeing faculty. And this seeing and hearing was known in the Brahmanas as nama to the right and rupa to the left. Nama, name, and rupa, form. Name and form. It is by the name and form that Brahman enters this world, says Shatapatha Brahmana. Everything in this world has only two realities. Everything, what you see, it has a form and a name. It is a very good exercise. I usually do this exercise. I will ask you, for example, I will stop this and I will click on this. I will ask you such a question. What do you see here? Can somebody answer? What do you see? Is it visible?
Pen.
It's a pen. Somebody said pen, Divyanshi. Pen. How do you know that this is a pen?
I've seen it before.
Yes, Navni?
I've seen it before.
You've seen it before, you remember it, okay. But suppose you switch off your memory, how do you know what it is, what you see? You see something, yeah, definitely. There is something, you see it. But what is it? How do you define what it is?
It's a cylindrical pipe.
It is what?
A cylindrical pipe.
didn't hear you well. Oh, wait, come on.
Cylindrical pipe.
Yes. It is something, somebody else, some other ideas. Don't hesitate, just speculate. We will come to this name and form very fast.
It looks like my finger.
It looks like your finger, very good. It looks like something. So this is excellent. Who said this? Yeah, somebody compared something with something, because we cannot really say what it is because we do not know what it is, but we saw this, a finger, we saw this, it is kind of long, it is black, we see these things, but we do not know what it is. We do not know that it is long, we do not know that it is black, because the long and black and pan, everything is the name only. We cannot know that it is black without the name. We cannot even compare it without the name, that it is like a finger, because finger is the name. And this is also is like a finger. It's by the name we do all the comparisons. We can do all the recognition of the thing by the name. But we see something. We see the something. And seeing something is also taking place. We see the form and we have to recognize what it is, to know what it is, and we know it by the name. We do not see that this thing writes, but we know in the name that it writes, and pen means writing. It doesn't write now. It doesn't show us that it writes. So everything which falls into domain of hearing is that what we don't see. We don't see that it is writing, but we know that it is writing. So because the name of writing, the idea of writing, is embodied in this form. Does it make sense? You're too silent. You are all,
Yeah, it does.
you are all muted microphones, that's why total silence, as if attention, yeah, full attention. So these are the form and name. Form doesn't give you knowledge. It gives you only apprehensive consciousness, apprehensive cognition. You apprehend the thing. You can have a contact. You can see the thing. You have a concentration on the form. But what it is, what it does, how it relates to the world, you do not know. And can't know only through the name, through comprehensive cognition, which hearing represents. So here, nama on one side, and on the other side is rupam. Nama represents comprehensive cognition, or we can say, if we separate them on Brahman and Atman, so the left one of the form will be Atman self, and Brahman will be on the right side as a comprehensive cognition. So this comprehension and apprehension create something what we know as life phenomenon, prana, breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. And this force consciousness enters the manifestation, the matter, and makes it animated, living. The matter starts living and can embody the spirit, can embody consciousness, can embody form and name, comprehension and apprehension. So, yeah, one more thing I want to say, leaving these faculties behind, and want to mention that faculties are different from verities of consciousness.
Excuse me. Could you just go back to the breathing in and breathing out? I didn't understand how from the four-legged Brahman it became into how breathing in and breathing out.
Right. Well, there is no such a, how to say, direct correspondence of breathing in and breathing out between apprehension and comprehension, most probably, because both of them are present in both, in life and matter. And but life and matter are the embodiment of the spirit. Life itself is a mystery because it represents the spirit in this embodying state. And matter is that already the result of this embodiment, which has to evolve and to give a foundation for this evolution, something which is difficult to change, which can hold all the changes. You know, matter is a unique faculty because it holds the spirit in its embodied state. It holds what it achieved. I will give you such simple example. I leave motorbike in the evening in front of my window, and I wake up in the morning and I look through the window and I see motorbike standing in the same position. The matter is obedient to what I did to it. It holds. And because of this holding, it can uphold all the changes. Can you imagine that you wake up and you don't recognize the world? Nothing is of the kind you did yesterday because matter doesn't uphold. Everything is fluid. You can't make a change in such a world. It has to hold. It has to be rigid. It has to resist the change. So this is what matter does. But it is really very helpful for evolution because it holds every change. I left it there, it stays. And matter is very precise. You cannot be imprecise with it. That's why the science is so precise. You know? But you can achieve a lot through it. So this is the quality of matter which we need for the embodiment of the spirit. I think we are only beginning to think something very profound. And this thinking will take us very long time, years, and maybe even, reincarnations. We will be thinking about this consciousness and its embodiment. It's profound. It is very simple, simplistic looks on this page, but truly speaking, there is much more to it than it is visible immediately. Yeah, please go ahead.
Matter is basically in a tamasic state, right?
In which state? Say it again.
Tamasic state.
Tamasic state, right.
So would it be right to say that tamasic state is obedient to force?
Right. Tamasic state is very necessary. It is exactly that tamas which makes the self steady. Because rajas cannot do it, and sattva is very lofty for this. Though it is also steady but lofty, less interested in holding into the form.
Right. So only through force can the state be changed from tamasic to rajasic or sattva, right?
Right.
Would that
Tamas can be changed only by rajas. There has to be an application of some force, and that change will be again fixed in the tamasic form. And that fixation of the form is important for evolution, for meaningful and gradual change.
Okay. And from rajasic to sattvic, how is the journey, or how is the transition from Rajasic to Sattvic? I know I'm going a little off course, but
No problem. It's very nice. Sattvic, actually, it fits very well into this. Sattvic is nothing but that equilibrium between tamasic and rajasic.
okay.
Yes, and the equilibrium between the two, where they well harmonized coexist, create the third state, or we can say the third state, sattvic, is determining the equilibrium in these two, energetic and tamasic. But
Could you elaborate?
Yeah, could you elaborate? Because I mean, this concept is sounding new. Like the sattvic is an equilibrium. Do you mean that you are in a sattvic state when you have a balance between the rajasic and the tamasic ideas?
exactly, not even ideas, states of consciousness. The will to change, and the change which took already in the form, yes, are already in the equilibrium, and they can give us sattvic state. The sattvic state, as Krishna describes in the Gita, is he says, to achieve it, you have not to overdo things, not to do too much, yeah? Not to sleep too much, not to eat too much, not to this too much, not that too much, everything in its measure. Why? Because then the change and the force which is changing are in the state of equilibrium, and you can reach to this beautiful state of sattva, of harmony. If you do too much energy, then you become rajasic. Yes. If you fall into tamas and less active, then neither in these states sattva is possible. Yes, but in full degree, of course. But when they are, there is a very simple comparison. If you put water, which is tamas, on the fire, it evaporates. Yes. It's a physical comparison, but it is good to understand what sattva is. That evaporation is sattva.
To elaborate further, or probably some more application based, I wouldn't know what sattva is till I have experienced rajasic. I wouldn't know what is that thin line or what is that equilibrium till I have known both tamasic and rajasic.
Exactly. You cannot know sattva without tamas and rajas being harmonized. You cannot. And you cannot be without tamas and rajas. It doesn't have. We don't have state which is only sattva. It doesn't exist. Actually, in this nature, there is no state without three gunas together. Yeah? There is no only rajasic or tamasic or rajasic tamasic state. There is always three in some proportion. If rajas and tamas are equalized or harmonized, then sattva is possible.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Well, it is, again, rajas, sattva, and tamas is a Sankhyayic paradigm, that mental structure which we today started with. I wanted us to move to this one, pre-Sankhyayic, which is a bit different. And well, yes. So these faculties of consciousness represent consciousness on every level. But consciousness is not everything we have. There is something more to it. And here I want to mention that faculties and varieties of consciousness. There are two different approaches to the studies of consciousness. One is about the faculties on the transcendental, universal, and individual levels of consciousness: hearing, seeing, speaking, or self-expressing oneself, thinking, feeling, being in the body, on all the levels, from the highest to the lowest, from the transcendental to the individual, over universal. And there is other approach to study is about the soul. and its influence through these faculties on the world. There is an element which is beyond these faculties. The soul, or the psychic being, better to say, which is involved in the process of evolution, trying to emerge and to guide all the other members of the consciousness, is called Antaratman, or Chaitya Purusha, or the psychic being. So there is some being within which wants to come through these faculties to the front and influences them, works through them, and manifests through them. It is using all the members of consciousness to express itself and to build up a passage, so to say, through them to the surface of consciousness, where it should bring its influence and light. For that was the original purpose of it coming down into the material inconscient, with the help of these very faculties. So by these very faculties, this Purusha, this psychic being, got involved into nature. And it is there working through them, through as a passage to the surface of consciousness. And if we study psychic being, it will be a completely different discipline. We would not study these faculties of consciousness. We would do something else. And I'm not even mentioning anymore, there are varieties of consciousness. I will come to them at the end of our presentation. Here they are. I just show them to you. These eternal dharmas, about which Sri Aurobindo speaks, are 12 qualities of the Divine Mother, clearly corresponding to the 4 powers of the Divine Shakti. And these are the psychic qualities: sincerity, humility, gratitude, perseverance, aspiration, receptivity, progress, courage, goodness, generosity, equality, and peace. And all of them are portrayed in this symbol of the Divine Mother. Here they are in colors. We will come till the end of our session to them. But now, before we come to this, I just mentioned that there is a difference between the consciousness and these faculties. Look at this. There is a big difference between the seeing, hearing, and the sincerity, humility, courage, yes, peace, equality. Equality does not belong to any one of these. Are you still there?
Yes.
Yes.
Just think for a moment about it. It's really a fascinating thing. What are these? Equality, courage, sincerity. Are they qualities of what? To whom do they belong? To what kind of faculty of consciousness? They belong to none of them. They belong to the self, to the soul, to the psychic being. And they embody themselves in these qualities. So I can be more sincere in speech. I can be more courageous in my speech. I can be more equal in my speech, more peaceful in my speech. Can you imagine? All these qualities can be exercised and embodied in these faculties of consciousness. Beautiful, no?
Yes.
Well, it explains something about our constitution of our being, of the self and consciousness, how they correspond and why they are both there. So, and now we are moving into another domain. Maybe for today we will stop here because this is totally new domain. Adhyatma epistemology, where we will study these faculties of consciousness on another level, on the level which is higher than our embodied consciousness, on the level of the transcendental consciousness. Sri Aurobindo speaks about this Adhyatmic epistemology as secret operations of consciousness. There are secret operations in us, he says, in our subconscious and superconscious selves, which precede this action, but of these we are not aware in our surface being, and therefore for us they do not exist. We do not know about them because we can't reach there. If we knew of them, our whole conscious functioning would be changed. And this is what we will be trying to do with you. We will try to change our whole functioning by knowing what they are and how they function. And these are the 4 secret operations, or essential operations of consciousness. Samjnana, ajnana, vijnana, and prajnana. And we will study them next time, one by one, and how they operate in the highest consciousness and how they project these faculties known to us as word, mind, hearing, and seeing. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so my presentation for today is over. If you want to ask something or to share something, you're most welcome.
I'm still uncertain how prana and apana fit into this 4-legged Brahma and how that manifests. So prana and apana is basically the ability to hold of matter and the ability to change of matter. Do I understand that right? And through that, consciousness can be embodied in matter?
Very right. Very good definition, by the way. I am impressed because I myself would not find that definition.
I'm getting already. Please stop.
Yes, to change and to hold. Very nice. Very beautiful. Mm.
Okay, so holding would be annam or apana,
Yes.
and the changing would be prana.
Yes. It's a constant impulse. Prana has this knowledge force. It's an embodiment of knowledge power of consciousness, yes, here in this world. And that's why it's so mysterious. Everything depends on prana, on life force, everything. And there is a discussion in the Kaushitaki Upanishad where all the faculties came together and tried to decide who is the most powerful and prominent and necessary for the being, for man. And the first speech said, I am most prominent because without me, person is nothing. But then they said, okay, leave this body. And speech left and person became mute. But he could live and function and it was okay. So one by one, they tried to leave. And when prana left, the person got, dropped dead. And they understood that prana is the major faculty. It is that embodiment of consciousness in matter. And if it leaves, none will survive. So in that sense, prana is that change, constant change in this embodied state by consciousness. Yes? If it leaves, all these 4 will leave immediately. Sight, hearing, word, mind, they will not sustain in the form. Right.
So prana makes apana possible. Apana is animated matter, which is basically consciousness or life force in matter.
Right. Apana is breathing out. It's embodying the matter, embodying the spirit into matter. Yes? One second.
Sure.
Sorry. Very nice definition. By the way, prana is very mysterious thing and nobody understands what prana is because prana exactly embodies all the faculties of consciousness. Yeah, in this world. It brings them in. It is kind of presenting the spirit, the consciousness in this manifestation. And since it is representative of this consciousness, we do not know what it is because we do not know that consciousness. So we always deal with something we do not know what it is. It's a force and meaning of something, but what it is, nobody can explain. Who can explain what life is? Really. And this is one of the explanations, that life is the embodiment of these faculties. Yeah? They are brought into a particular format. The spirit can enter this manifestation through this movement, which we call prana, life. And it looks like a very realistic explanation because what else is life if not the spirit? Yeah? The spirit which wants to embody itself in matter. What else it could be? Just energy? Doesn't explain anything. And the very idea that energy in the world, even physical world, is, there is the law of the preservation of energy, that energy is not spent. You can't spend energy. It just changes the form all the time. So if this thing burned, it went into another form, the energy, travels. So there is the law of holding with the same energy. The universe is a bubble of energy which is never spent. And that makes me think that exactly that prana, the spirit, is present there. And even that idea that the universe has minus 273 degrees absolute zero is really to think of, because there is no place in the universe which we have of lower temperatures than minus 273 degrees Celsius. Because if you go below, then the helium and hydrogen will become solid, and that means that there will be no holder for them. They cannot be upheld in this universe, and they will fall into the black hole somewhere, and the whole universe will whoop and disappear. So the temperature minus 273 is actually very close from us. It shows that the whole universe is one bubble of temperature. The fire, the energy, prana. That fire which is described in the Vedas, that vayu, the prana, is the fire in the antariksha, which upholds this universe. It's interesting. You can go up whatever degrees, billions, trillions degrees up, but you can't go below minus 273. It's kind of to think of how our universe is constituted. So prana is really a mysterious thing. Just one can only wonder what it is. But it is in this paradigm, which is pre-Sankhyayic. In Sankhyayic, it is very different. It becomes something very different. Anyhow, I am invoking in you the spirit of inquirer, the one who will be studying the phenomenon of life, consciousness. You make your own conclusions, mistakes, doesn't matter. Just go ahead, open up. This is the mystery. Who knows what it is? We just call it like this for now. But truly speaking, it can be anything else. And if you coherently will understand it, comprehensively, then there will be some breakthrough, some change in your perception, in your being also. That's what it is all about. It's not really about this particular knowledge or this, but Upanishads came very close to it. They found the language which fits well to describe this phenomenon. Yes? Somebody else is saying something? Astha? No? Prema? Navni usually says something.
No, I'm just taking it in.
Mahendraji? No? Divyanshi?
We are also taking it in.
Right. I feel like a teacher in the classroom, calling by names, looking in the Divyanshi? No, nothing to say. Strange feeling. Right. Very good. So next time we will do a very interesting exercise. We will look where these faculties of consciousness are generated from. And this is something we do not even think of, that the side hearing are generated from some secret operations of consciousness. And this was discovered only by Sri Aurobindo. And I would love to give you this kind of view. You will be delighted to see that where our faculties are coming from. Not only prana is a mystery, yes, we can't describe it because it's a product of these faculties, but these faculties are even a greater mystery of a transcendental consciousness. Right. Okay, then we will stop for today here and we will meet next time. Is it okay? Right. So I will close with mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santo Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.